Hey everyone, Jen here. In this really short video, I'm just going to go through the pros and the cons of using LinkedIn versus using Facebook for B2B lead generation. And there are pros and there are cons for both sides. And to illustrate this, I'll just share my screen and open up both LinkedIn and Facebook, and we'll take a look at the merits of either of them. Okay, so share my screen. All right, so starting with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is known as the B2B platform, and this is because it has such a power for finding people based on their title and their company. So you could either type in a search here. So let's look for human resource executives, and you can refine via various search queries. So you can refine by people. So looking for everyone in your network who has this title, human resource executive. You can see that there's over 700,000, nearly 800,000. And obviously you can refine via location. You can refine your network. So whether they're already your connection or they're not yet connected but have a common connection, and so on and so forth. And there's more filters that you could search by. The other power of LinkedIn is Sales Navigator, which is a paid resource, and there's even more firepower around finding people who are human resource executives. So the lead filters within LinkedIn are really powerful. So you can search by not only job title, human resource executive. So you can see there's a big search here, but you can search via industry, years of experience, group membership, levels of seniority. So you can change out executive for VP and CXO and things like that. And you can even search by people who've changed jobs recently, have been posting on LinkedIn recently, and things like that. So you can see the power of LinkedIn for finding very, very specific people within your network. Facebook, on the other hand, is much more powerful for finding individuals based on social intent. So there are a lot of groups active on Facebook. So let's have a look about human resource. We can go by groups. Okay, so there are groups here. Human Resources Nigeria, probably not that helpful. Human Resources Group, 67,000 members. Human Resource Marketing, Human Psychology, Real Human Resource Group. So you can find people via groups and activity, but that's pretty much it. You can't search otherwise by job title using Facebook. So as a result, because of the search power of LinkedIn, you're able to search people within companies and within accounts. And this means that you're able to then hunt down contracts and leads that are of really high value. For example, leads that might be worth $10,000, $50,000, $100,000 contracts for your company. By filtering and with precision before you connect and reach out, this means that you don't need to do a lot of qualification once you connect, but it does mean that these people are likely to be strangers. And so you then need a longer sales cycle to nurture them, for them to get to know you. You probably need better sales assets, case studies, white papers, and things to be able to offer out and share with people so that they can get to know you before booking a conversation or a call. The other limitation of LinkedIn is not all industries are represented. So let's have a look at industry. Really, the demographic on LinkedIn is very much white collar professional services, a lot of really B2B. What you don't find a lot of is agriculture. You don't find a lot of bricks and mortar companies, people like plumbers, electricians, hairdressers, really, because of the nature of LinkedIn as a professional networking platform. People who are in their professional life are looking to reach the public are really not using LinkedIn. They don't see a need of LinkedIn. They'll be much more findable via Google search or other kind of avenues. So as a result, LinkedIn is less powerful for certain niches. A further limitation of LinkedIn is it only allows you to connect with up to 100 people a week. So for example, if my search is human resource executives who've posted on LinkedIn in the last 30 days, I've found 900 of them. I would only be allowed to connect with 100 before LinkedIn would stop me from connecting with more people. And I would have to wait another week before I could start adding more people. And the reason for this is LinkedIn is really stamping down on quantity and trying to encourage people to focus on quality. So we couldn't just like bulk add people. We would have to actually discerningly look at their profile and decide if this person is somebody of value to me, maybe based on his location, potentially not. So I might want to filter my geography down into the maybe the United Kingdom, and I have a more refined search. It's probably quite narrow because this is quite broad. Sorry, specific human resource. So keep it generic. Okay, so that's broader because I've changed the search term here. So I would then go through and look at each of these people and decide if they were somebody that I wanted to connect with, limiting only to 100. On the flip side, LinkedIn does allow a lot more connections overall. So for example, I'm currently nearly 15,000 connections. Usually connections and followers is quite similar. Yeah, 15,000 connections. Whereas Facebook actually stops your number of connections at 5,000. So LinkedIn does allow you to amass a larger following. I think the capacity is right up to about 30,000 connections in total. And you'll find some influencers on LinkedIn with up to nearly 30,000 connections. They've been working consistently on that. Another real advantage of LinkedIn is its capacity to allow you to blog. So you can obviously share posts, photos, videos, you can promote jobs, but you can also write articles. And if you've set up your blog properly, you can actually create like a newsletter with newsletter subscribers. And so these blog articles that you post, I publish a blog article once a week. These are actually indexed by search engines and can be findable via Google search, whereas posts on Facebook are not findable via Google search. So if you're writing regular content, if you're using strategic keywords, and if you're using hashtags, your LinkedIn blogs and articles can be searched via the World Wide Web. People can find you via the content you're sharing. So here's an example of a post I shared recently. And you can see that this has gone out to my newsletter with nearly 2,000 subscribers, and it's written like an article. And I've just got my content here and different reactions and followers there. So that's a really powerful element of the LinkedIn platform. So let's go over then and look at Facebook and its advantages. So as previously mentioned, Facebook is much more about finding people on their interests based on Facebook groups. So you can find, for example, SaaS founders. Let's have a look at groups there. And you can see that there's just a huge amount of groups here, 11,000 members, 11,000 members, SaaS jobs, 1,000 members, and so on and so forth. If you want to find marketing agencies, so you can see that there's just huge groups for marketing agency owners, marketing agency growth, SEO, digital marketing and things. So Facebook is really powerful for finding groups. Now on LinkedIn, there are groups available. You can search by groups and group membership. It is a way of finding your leads, but groups on LinkedIn are really not very active. So for example, I belong to a few groups, particularly the online coaching and consulting group. There is activity, but really there's not a lot of kind of engagement or activity in groups. I've never found groups to be terribly effective, but they are good for finding other people to connect with and adding them as connections based on a shared activity. All right, so Facebook is a lot more active and engaging around groups. Yeah, so if you're in the market for owners, founders, marketing agencies or SaaS, Facebook is very powerful for you. There's a lot of groups and activity there. Of course, you can find that demographic on LinkedIn, but it's also very powerful on Facebook. Whereas finding people by Chief Executive Officer, Chief Technology Officer, Human Resource Officer, LinkedIn is really the place to find them. Like you won't really be able to find people by role and title inside of a company on Facebook that much. Facebook is a bit more the individual and the individual as business owner rather than a person within a company. So Facebook also limits the number of people that you can add every day, but you can still add lots of people. So one strategy of finding and connecting with people is to obviously go to a group that represents your target demographic. So I'm a part of like I reach out to marketing agencies. I might find all the members and then just go down and start adding members that way, just to grow my network. Remembering that I'm limited at 5,000, so I wouldn't be able to do this forever. What I would have to do is like add people and then intermittently clean out my friend list, like start removing people who are not active, start removing people who are not interacting with my content. There is a limit on how many you can add each day. So you just keep adding people until until Facebook says, yeah, you've added too many people and you're not able to add anymore. So you can see that I would just add people fairly indiscriminately. I'm not looking at everybody's profile. I don't know if these are marketing agency owners or competitors of mine, but I'll just add them. And the strategy is then that I share valuable content on Facebook. All right, so this is now telling me I can't add anymore. So I would just stop now. I've just added a bunch of people. So therefore, the approach on Facebook is a bit more about adding people and then sharing valuable content. So if we look at my profile, you can see that daily I'm writing content. Sometimes it's just a thought piece that gets engagement. You can see I've got 25 comments of people just chatting away to me. Sometimes I'll share a YouTube link, a bit of a hook about something I've learned and drive traffic to my YouTube channel. Other times it's a thought piece or a belief shifting piece that gets engagement in the chat. Other times I'll even just share an offer post. So this is quite a long post and it outlines my whole offer. And from offer posts like this, I'll receive DMs of people who are interested in working with me. Whereas LinkedIn is much more about researching and finding the right decision maker, adding them, and then having a short direct message cadence with them. So reaching out and talking to people in the DMs. Facebook is a little bit more about just adding people broadly, share valuable content, see who engages with your content, and then from there go into the DMs and have a conversation with people. So I've got a conversation with somebody who's interested in working with me right there. And he commented on my content earlier today. So I'll follow that up a bit later. So I would say one of the benefits, but the drawbacks of Facebook is that you can obviously have more leads on a daily basis, but there really is a process of refining those leads. So people can be from all over the world. People can be connecting with you who really don't represent your ideal client. And so the refining process comes more through the content that you share. So sharing content that's very specific to a target demographic, sharing advice, really daily content, whereas on LinkedIn, you don't need to share daily. It's really just about adding the right people and having a conversation with them and having some content to back up. When people look at your profile, you want content there so that people can be reviewing recent posts, reviewing some of your sales assets, and reading about your testimonials and things. Whereas Facebook is much more a daily content share, daily education, daily value, daily interaction in the DMs and interaction in the comments and then chats in the DMs. So it's a slightly different approach. And then you want to disqualify more people here. You want to say, all right, no, you're from the wrong geography. Your business is not really the right size, are not mature enough to sign up to my program. So we'll just keep chatting, but book a call with people who represent the right demographic for you. One last piece of advice about Facebook, referencing the groups that we're a part of. So if I go, say, for example, I'm part of a private Facebook group. This is full of members of people who've already paid for a program. What I could do is go through the discussion and see what other people are commenting, questions that people are asking, and essentially find out if people are struggling with something that I can help them with, in which case I would then go and actually intentionally engage with people who look like my ideal client, who are asking the questions in the chat. This is potentially not a great example, but if I go to another group, maybe organic high tickets, this is a really big and active group. People are always sharing things, asking questions, commenting on posts. And so it's a real way of like reading a little bit of content and then finding out who's engaging with that content, and then strategically adding those people as connections, going through and thinking, okay, based on their behavior, this person is probably a potential lead for me. I'm just going to connect with them and then follow up in the DMs. All right, so that's a little bit of a summary of the difference between LinkedIn and Facebook. I'd love to hear from you what you find useful, how you find your leads, whether it's via LinkedIn, whether it's via Facebook. This is just a really short summary, obviously not going into all of the detail about each of the platforms. There's a lot more training I've got on how to find your leads using Facebook, using cold emails. So just check out those other videos and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thanks, bye.